Hey everyone, my name is Byron. I'm here to testify for Jesus Christ. I'm going to be talking about the revolution that is going on in the United States, but it's specifically what I'm going to talk about is the revolution that's happening in Decatur, Alabama. I've been following this for a long time, all the way, I guess, back since 2011, and things have developed. I'm going to cover some things. My intent is to put together a playlist on YouTube, so this would be the introductory video for the playlist. There's so much to cover, I cannot cover it all in one time, in one sitting. But in this video, I just want to say that I want to talk about the people or the organizations involved in the revolution. And I'm going to start with the tribe of Dan. That was a tribe of Israel. Israel was Jacob in the beginning. Jacob was born to Bilhah, a handmaid of Rachel. And later, Jacob became Israel, and Dan was the first child born to Bilhah, the handmaid of Rachel. And his name was given to him because Rachel said, God hath judged me. And that's how he got his name. And the name means judge. There's several symbols that depict Dan. One is a serpent or a snake, the snake head. The other is the balances. Like if you go to a courthouse and you see the balances that a lot of people say is justice, that's also because it's judge or the judge. And it's important to understand, a lot of people don't get this, and I think it's extremely important, is that God, that is Jehovah, the Father of Jesus Christ, who came in the flesh, that also sent the Holy Spirit after Christ ascended into heaven. He stated in Isaiah 45:7, he said, I form light and create darkness. That's the first part of the verse. I just want to expand on light and darkness. Light, you could also consider it to be a period of time of prosperity. And darkness, you can consider it to be a period of time of war, judgment, things coming on you, tribulation, persecution, etc. God stated he forms light and darkness and creates darkness. He goes on to say, I make peace and create evil. And that's the further definition I was already speaking of. Then he says, I, the Lord, do all these things. It's extremely important that you understand that. If you go back to Deuteronomy, there's a chapter there of blessings and cursings. If you do right by God, who created this universe, you'll be blessed. If you don't, you'll be cursed. And this is some of the ways that I've chose to explain that. Again, I said earlier, I got a verse here. Rachel stated, God hath judged me and hath also heard my voice and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And that's just letting you know the tribe that I'm speaking of. And a prophecy goes on. This is a prophecy of Israel after Jacob, after he became Israel, was getting ready to die. And on his, I'm afraid to say deathbed, but near his death, he blessed his sons and gave prophecies about his sons. One of those sons being Dan, and he said, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder by the path that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall back. So immediately you realize Dan is going to judge people by his name and also by the prophecy of his father. You also realize Dan's got a sting to him. He's got some venom, some poison. He can bring it. He can bite that horse's heel and make you, perhaps, as the rider, to fall back. And this has been going on throughout history. Let me see if I got a verse here. Yeah. Listen to this in Jeremiah 8:15, Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 15. It says, we looked for peace. This is Jerusalem. Jerusalem is actually being attacked here for their wrongdoing. But listen to how it's worded here. It says, we looked for peace, but no good came. And for a time of health, and behold trouble. The snorting of his horses was heard from Dan. So Dan's horses were snorting. They were ready to go, ready to bring it. The whole land trembled, as the sound of the neighing of his strong ones. For they are come and have devoured the land and all that is in it, the city and those that dwell therein. There is that sting, there is that darkness, there is that evil, there is that judgment that we spoke of earlier in Dan. So it's important that you understand when we're dealing with what's going on in Decatur, Alabama, and it's the world too, the whole United States, and eventually will be the world, is a judgment by God. It's very easy to get confused and think, well, this can't be of God because it's evil. But remember back what we said in Isaiah 45, God said, I form light and create darkness. I create good and evil. So what Dan has been used for is like a rod. Like if you messed up back in the old days, they would use a rod and they would whip people with a rod, or you would say you would spank your children or something like that, make corrections. Dan has been used by that against the children of Israel. There we talked about Jerusalem, and Jerusalem was occupied by a tribe called Judah, and Jesus Christ is the lion of the tribe of Judah. And Christians are the seed of Jesus Christ. He has breathed life into us or quickened us. We are by faith his seed. So Christians fall within the category of those who can be judged. And you can go to several different places in the Bible. I'll just pick one for chapter 2, start at verse 18, where the church of Thyatira has some wrongdoing going on, and they are being put into great tribulation by Jesus Christ. Now, who would Jesus choose to put that church into great tribulation? Someone made out for that, such as the tribe of Dan. But you can't just narrowly focus on, well, where's this tribe and where are they coming from, etc. They don't have land in Israel that's quote unquote designated as their land or whatever. They have blended in with society. They were in Russia at the time of the Bolshevik Revolution. They are also currently in the United States, and they've been working here diligently because this is the last area to conquer prior to them marching on toward Israel. And they are the ones that are going to march toward Israel. And finally, God will stop them by sending Jesus Christ. Jesus doesn't even know when he's coming. No one knows the hour. But when Christ comes, the Antichrist will be with the tribe of Dan. And Jesus Christ will destroy him, or what's called that wicked in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, by the brightness of his coming. Under Dan uses, under this tribe, this almost invisible tribe that you can't really distinguish. I'm going to just break it down. If you were to talk about racism, you would have difficulty telling the difference between me and a member of the tribe of Dan because I have light skin. That's what I'm talking about. As we go further into this just mere introduction to kind of get your mind set, oh gosh, man, this is bigger than I thought. You got to realize the Bible says that in the end time, nation shall rise against nation. And I'm going to tell you, this tribe of Dan can stir up more racial conflict, which is conflict between the nations, than any other peoples on the earth. So my ancestry came out of England. I am, to my knowledge, not part of the tribe of Dan. However, you couldn't tell me from, like, if you ever say, well, the Ku Klux Klan guy, he was a white dude. You would think, well, since Byron's white, he may be Ku Klux Klan, but that's not the case. Anyway, let me just go on to describe a little more of the organizational structure. The tribe of Dan controls Freemasonry. And within Freemasonry, you have also what's called an Eastern Star. I'm going to play a clip here. It's of a man talking about the Prince Hall Freemasonry. And don't get a negative thought here. Just because I'm playing it from a man of color doesn't mean this. What he's saying doesn't apply also to what you might say is white Freemasonry or words to that effect. I'm going to play this. There's going to be some talking going on. He's going to extend it past just Freemasonry, but he's also going to talk about sororities and fraternities and placing those in colleges. And as that's going on, I'm going to superimpose a picture of sororities and fraternities that took place here in Decatur, Alabama. It's going to get you oriented on the bigger picture of what's really going on with the revolution and who is really behind the revolution. And you can't look at this revolution from a racial standpoint, because this revolution is good against evil, or evil against good, light against darkness. And there are white men coming with evil or darkness, and there are black men coming with good or prosperity or, light. So don't get confused when you hear the word light or darkness, or you see a skin color in this video, who's who. Because the tribe of Dan, and I believe they're predominantly white, they're controlling both Freemasonry. You got Prince Hall Freemasonry. You also have Scottish Rite, York Rite Freemasonry. So, and then each side of those Freemasonries has an Eastern Star, which is a ladies' Freemasonry. And you have sorority and fraternal organizations, I believe, up to and including orders such as the Ku Klux Klan, such as the Fraternal Order of the Police, etc. So I want you to realize all police are not members, but some are members and some are actively involved in this. And I'm going to share a video about a police officer who is actively involved in this. And I'm going to show him participating with the other people of his order or his tribe, or who he has aligned himself with. So let me play this clip right here. It's going to be somewhat explanatory as he goes through it. He's going to talk about Prince Hall Freemasonry. You have to realize there is a mirror image in also what was predominantly called white Freemasonry, or York Rite or Scottish Rite Freemasonry.
Because of the Grand Lodge being here in 1867, I think, when Howard was formed, that those men who created the institution depended on a lot of the brothers in Prince Hall Masonry to help give them a way and get them set up. Dr. Warfield, who set up Howard University's surgery department, was also one of our Grand Masters of Masons, all right, here in the District of Columbia. I don't have a list of all the professors, but there was always a close relationship between our Grand Lodge and men at Howard. In fact, from 1865 until 1925, if you were an African-American man in America, the highest social status you could have was being a Mason, being a Prince Hall Mason. The reason I put that date and line in there is because from 1904 through 1925 is the period of the creation of the Greek fraternities on college campuses. And over time, even though each one of them used our procedures and our handbooks to create their organizations as such, right? As one became educated through time, in the minds of some people, being a Greek in a Greek fraternity was a higher status than being a Mason. But about, I'll say from 1920 to until 2016, or until today, one of the most reverent statements that you can make is that you're a double brother. Now, double brother is a Mason and a Omega, or Mason and an Alpha, or a Mason and a Kappa, or what have you, but double brothers. So, like we created them, they've come back, and we've joined. So we both have the fraternity, the college fraternal order, and Prince Hall Masonry all have the same goals for our communities. That's upliftment and moving forward.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it's talking about the wicked. It's a capital W. If you go there and you look at it, that's King James. I'll just do King James, but the wicked is representing the Antichrist. And it says, then shall that wicked be revealed. So the Antichrist will be revealed at some time in the future. I just want you to see that in 2015, the president, who was Barack Hussein Obama, announced in one of my dreams he was the Antichrist. And it was done at a fraternity house setting where he hung, and he went into some things there. some weird stuff, men genitalia on a balcony rail. Now, I have to also show you something else because I did a video back in 2014 called Presidential Perversion. And in that particular one, he wanted me to read a homosexual LBGA type. You can go YouTube and listen to that if you want to find it. Type book to children in a school library. Now, amazingly, since that time, there have been transgender and also drag queens reading books like this to children in libraries. So you have to realize this tribe, what they want to do is they want to weaken the nation as much as possible through what they call liberalism, which means you have the right to do anything do. The wickedest man on earth at one time, his name was Aleister Crowley, or at least he called himself that. He even called himself the 666 or the beast. He had a phrase that said, "Do what thou wilt." Just do whatever you want. That is going to bring you into judgment by God, because God has a prescribed order of business here on this earth because he created it, and this whole earth is for his pleasure. Some of the bad or the harm that's coming is going to be coming because man has chosen to go against God. And you'll feel it. You don't have to believe me now, but when you feel it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go on and show you a couple other things I've mentioned before. In here, I mentioned fraternity. This is from 2021 I did on Facebook. I have seen where fraternities are going to be used to start racial wars. And you got to realize, if you're not a member of a fraternity, but you see what you think is a racial war starting, or you see white folks picking on black folks, don't be deceived, because those can be two fraternities who have already coordinated in advance. They are going to act like they're going to fight and maybe get some other standers by, or maybe get the whole city into a turmoil. I've even seen recently where there's a trial coming up for a gentleman that's going on trial for murder because of an officer-involved shooting. Well, I saw where white agitators were going to be shipped into Decatur, Alabama to start something. So if you have acting white agitators and acting black agitators who are both from these organizations who are controlled by the tribe of Dan, it's going to look like the common everyday old man. Well, shoot, we got to get it on, and bullets could start flying and people could start dying, and there's no reason for it other than this particular tribe and the organizations that it uses brings judgment. And I can tell you in advance, when the fighting starts, immediately you'll go into martial law. The United States Army is going to be called in. Perhaps even the National Guard, or maybe the National Guard will precede the United States Army. They will be called in, and martial law will be established. And once that established, the Masons will go about closing churches and using them for processing centers. I'm telling you, that's what the Lord has shown me. That's what's coming. And I can tell you that there's a lot of people. I saw some comments recently, from people that don't have a clue about anything, making comments of things that I've said. I'm telling you, when they see this happening, they're going to be in shock. They're going to be like, holy cow, God did promise to send somebody to warn us, and God did warn us, and I blew them off. But here's some more. I posted this in 2021, but it was from a dream of 2017. I saw white fraternity face off against a black fraternity in a parking lot over a mixed marriage. So you can expect to see that, but you have to realize it's not racism. It's because both of those people are playing the game to try to stir up a squabble throughout the whole city. They want the whole city to go under gunfire. Once the gunfire starts, martial law is created. The Freemasonry can establish its control, and it will begin to impose religion on you and persecution of Christians. That will go on until that portion of it is exhausted. And then the whole country is going to be destroyed, because as the Antichrist comes in at some point in time during the chaos, Barack Hussein Obama will reestablish himself as president. of the United States of America, perhaps even by vote, because if people are going to be tired of what all Trump's doing, and there's going to be squabbling and riots and everything going on, people are going to look to him like, please come save the day. And he's going to look to the world like he came to save the day, when in fact he and his organization of the Danites created this. And I did a video called The Bloodlines of the Antichrist. It'd be interesting for you to look at that, because Barack Hussein Obama he's related to 5 white U.S. presidents. So I know a lot of people like to say, well, he's African American, the first African American president, and la da 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 da. If you open your eyes and look, he's just as related to the 5 white U.S. presidents as he is to anybody from Kenya, and that includes his father. So you have to keep this in perspective. This judgment is following the tribe of Dan. It's not going to be following, like if somebody's from Kenya, it's potentially that he's from Cush. The tribe of Cush, the land of Cush, was the upper portion of Africa at the time. This judgment is coming out of the tribe of Dan. Another thing that I did was a post in 2024 after the stuff in Decatur started happening, after the Steve Perkins case began in September 29th of 2023. I said here, Freemasonry, the agents of the elders who slew the prophets and Jesus, will also rally their fraternities and sororities to turn nation white against nation black, as has been prophesied since Jesus told. And I've already covered that before. This slide maybe gotten out of place, but I just wanted to start with this particular video. This is an introduction. This is a video that would divert your attention from a racial issue and bring your attention to the fact that this may not necessarily be black on white. This is judgment against people that have been wrong or are doing wrong. And I can tell you this, the United States right now, if you rank the United States up against other countries, we're not doing good. We may have a rocket that can fire on the moon, but we got marriages that can't stay together. We got men out here fathering children and just leaving them to be raised by themselves. And it's high, I think in the black community, up to 70%. White community is 35%. Hispanic is 25%. If you don't provide a fatherly figure to a child, he's going to grow up challenging the elements. You're going to get to the point where you can't challenge the police. So you can't, the police can't control the society. And then the heavy guns have to come in. The darkness spoken of by the tribe of man. So this is the beginning. Man, there's so much I could say, so much I need to say, and I will say. But this is just the beginning, an introduction to get things started, to orient you to what really is going on, because you have members right now churning this churn, trying to get some kind of racial tension going on so that they can have martial law brought in, because they honestly believe they're going to be doing God a favor by persecuting Christians. That's how, I guess you could say, mixed up and deranged they really are. They believe that Barack Hussein Obama is coming in for good, and he's coming in as God's judgment on a nation, and it's not going to be pretty for the nation or the earth when he gets back in charge. So I'm going to leave this here as an introduction. I'll follow up with much more. I'm going to use videos and footage from news sources, also from our city council that's provided a wealth of acting jobs for us. And I will continue to do this until what I believe is the city will stop me in some way, perhaps even by arrest for some fraudulent charge to get me off the air. So anyway, remember, I always say this, just keep this in mind. If you choose not to believe this right now, try to believe it when the first bullet hits you. That there's one hope, and it's Jesus Christ. And that is the only way of escaping what's happening. That it's coming, and just realize it's going to hit, and it's going to hit hard when it does. And the Freemasons have already rehearsed. They are ready to close churches and use them as processing centers. They're going to be ready to give you indoctrinational classes into their religion, which is worship of the sun god Baal, or you could say Hiram Abiff, or you could say the reincarnation, as Kendrick Lamar told us about in the Super Bowl, of Barack Hussein Obama, who wakes up looking for the broccoli owns the IP, which is the blueprint for the revolution. So these things are coming, folks. And I'm not here to gain a following. I'm here to give you the opportunity to choose whether or not you want to believe the truth or suffer the consequences. One hope, Jesus Christ. Thank you.